Hey, happy Tuesday, besties and bosses. How are you all doing? We are getting into the end of the year here, which is pretty exciting. I have been getting into the holiday spirit. I was sharing with a client, many of you know, I moved into a new neighborhood not too long ago, and down the street from where I lived, there's like I live in New York City, but I'm in Brooklyn, and there's like a little town center, and they put up a Christmas tree with decorations, and the same in our building, and it makes me feel like I live in a small town. Like, it's a wonderful life, even though I'm in New York City. So it's been very, very happy making. We're all about the holidays over here. So you'll have to let me know how you all are prepping for the holidays, how you're feeling as we get into the end of the year. Today, I wanted to chat about 2021 and planning for business success always, but particularly for 2021, because it's a conversation I think it's just coming up for everyone as we head into the end of the year. I can't have anyone come on live with me on this one. I think that someone accidentally hit a button to hop on live as well. But I think it's just a really interesting time of the year where we're closing out, we're reflecting on 2020, we're having celebrations. I personally love this time of the year, and I think we just inherently tend to use this time of the year to start looking forward, to start planning for 2021. I think as business owners, this tends to be a time of the year too, where we start thinking about, okay, end of year, how did this year in business go? I think 2020 has had its own challenges for many people. And then looking ahead, what are those business goals? How are we going to plan? What do we want to bring in to the business in 2021? So I wanted to chat about all things planning, because what I find with planning in business is it's this really fascinating thing. No worries, Natalia says sorry. No worries. I think it's just the funny thing. It's very easy to do on Facebook. It happens on Instagram all the time as well. What I find with planning, this is something I chat with clients about quite a bit, and something I know to be true in business is I find planning is absolutely essential as a business owner. I literally carve out time in my days for planning, and I think planning can also become an Achilles heel and something that becomes a business block and holds entrepreneurs back big time from the success they want. So I really want to dive into that today, because we're getting into that time of the year where we want to start looking forward and planning and really talk about when are those times where planning serves you, how to plan in business for success, and then when are those times, what does it look like when business is actually planning is actually sabotage? When do you need to stop planning, and what do you want to do instead? And so we're going to break that down a little bit. I think I was saying in the email I sent out for this, I think something that's really fascinating about 2020 in particular is we're really seeing this year how much you can plan, and really, I use the quote, the best laid plans for mice and men, but the best laid plans, how really those can go out the window. And so that's what I want to dive into, because I think having a plan is important. Having too rigid a plan and over planning can really get people in trouble. And I think what we saw this year particularly is the evidence for those people who are able to be adaptable and pivot and not be too locked into a plan were the business owners who really were able to lean into 2020 and thrive amidst everything that was going on. Those business owners who were so clinging onto a plan, I think were also the business owners who had a really hard time, or had more challenges this year with being able to adapt and pivot as the various things were coming up throughout the year with COVID. I mean, there was just a lot, I think, this year for everyone. Natalia says, I love planning. I'd love to hear why you love planning. I love planning as well, but we're going to break this all down, because I think planning is a fascinating thing, because I think planning is so important in business, and I think there is this way we glorify planning, and it literally becomes the way I see business owners hold themselves back. I just told a recent client, I lovingly encouraged her to stop planning because she was wrapping around the axle of business planning and the 5-year plan and the 3-year plan, and then needing to create another plan. And what happens, and maybe this is a great place for us to start, what I see happens is, while yes, you need a plan in business, I'm not discounting that. What I see happen so often with planning, particularly in business, is it becomes the way that we can delay, procrastinate, and delay taking action. And if you know, for any of you who know my work, my coaching framework and how I support clients to build, grow, and scale profitable businesses that they love and to do it their way is clarity, mindset, strategy, and action. And that action piece is not an accident. That action piece is literally the driver for results in your business. Clarity, mindset, strategy, all very important. If you don't have that action with your clarity, mindset, and strategy, it's impossible to get business results. We need the action. And leaning into action in business is where results come from. So when we think about business success, what drives business success? Clarity, mindset, strategy, and action. And what often stalls the action piece? Well, a lack of clarity, a lack of strategy, a mindset that doesn't support it. But what I often find can also really stall the action piece that is necessary, that consistent aligned action, not overworking, but that consistent aligned action, is when we get into over planning. I call it planning to plan. You know, when you plan to do the thing, or just, I mean, we see this in large businesses often, right? How many meetings are to plan and to organize and to plan another thing and to plan another thing, when what it does is it just makes it harder and harder to execute and take action to actually move the ship, the boat forward. Let me know if this is resonating. So what I was chatting with my client about, and something that I want to share here that I think is really important to remember as a business owner, your business results, your business success is directly tied to your action. And action is not only what drives results, but it's also what drives the data in your business and the clarity in terms of what that next step you need to take. And so I find so often in business, it's really easy to cling to this idea that we need to plan and know everything in advance. And it's almost like the plan becomes a safety blanket. Like, if I have the perfect plan, then I can't fail, then I won't have to risk anything, then I know my business won't fail. And what I want to offer is that is a very, it's false logic, because sometimes when you cling to that business plan so tightly in your business, it's actually the very thing that will lend itself or lead you towards either delaying taking action or lead you to not having the success you want. And so it's really ironic how sometimes this planning, that beautiful thing, we'll talk about what positive planning looks like, but I think planning can be powerful, but it can also be the very thing that prevents you from creating the success you want and for moving forward in business, which again, I think is just ironic, because the whole reason I think people overplan is they're latching onto a plan as, this is my safety blanket, this is the thing that's going to keep me from failing. But the reason for this, and this is what I think is important for us to chat about, and the reason that action is such a big piece of my coaching framework and what I support clients around, is it's through taking action in your business that you start to gain clarity. Clarity comes through action so often. I've never met a business owner who has created epic ideas or epic business success by just thinking through things. So often it's through the action and through the doing, but it's also through taking action in your business, by executing on a plan and taking action, where we start to collect data and where we start to get that feedback. I often joke that feedback is the unspoken fifth piece of my coaching framework. That data and feedback is gold in your business. And when we think about what creates business success, what creates business sustainability, what allows you to pivot and to be adaptable in a year like 2020, when we have all sorts of, new things that no one could have planned for. I mean, no one could have planned for 2020. No business owner was prepared or planned for this, because this wasn't something, I don't think 2020 was something people could plan for. And what allows a business owner to be adaptable in that is not always needing a plan, but being able to take in feedback and data and use that as information that they can then take and run at with new action and continue to get new data, new information. And then I'm gonna read these comments. What I found for many of my clients when COVID first hit in, what was that, March? It's crazy, y'all. Like, this year has been just fascinating, the way time has sort of like morphed and melded. What I found for a lot of my clients is I think everyone had a momentary freak out, but I was supporting so many clients. Many of my clients really thrived this year, and many of my clients either made the same amount of money or more. I had many clients who increased their revenue this year, even with these challenges. But part of the reason for that is they were really open to allowing their plans to dissolve and allowing themselves to take that quick action, to take that quick aligned action without, a 5-year plan or even a plan for how to thrive during COVID, and allowed themselves to take action and to receive the feedback and data from their action to get more clarity so that they could understand how they needed to show up and adapt and pivot. And I think that is what allowed so many of my clients to continue to be successful or to grow and scale during this time. So I think it's really been interesting this year just to see the evidence for how, yes, plans are important, and too much planning, over planning, I think it can be really something that hinders business owners. And for everyone here, and then I do want to read those comments, and y'all let me know if this is resonating, if you have questions while I'm chatting through this. Always open to the questions and love the reflections. Something that I think is really important for everyone in this group in particular, if you're here, you in some way are a small business owner or an entrepreneur. Even if you're, at multiple 6 figures or $1 million, most people in this group, I don't think are running corporations or what we consider, very large businesses. One of the benefits of being a smaller business, again, I consider myself a small business and multi 6 figures. I have a team. This is still a small business. One of the benefits of being a small business is it is easier to be adaptable. It is easier to move forward and take action in your business without needing to over plan and to have plans upon plans upon plans, because it's not as large of an organization. And I think it's one of the assets for a small business that allows it, again, to be a little more nimble and to create that success during a year like 2020, but always. And I think what's really important as a small business is to see that as an asset as a small business and not to then try to operate like a corporation. The only reason, and I don't even know that, I was telling a client today, I've never had a corporate job, so I can't actually speak to how large corporations are running their businesses, but I do think there can be a bit of over planning and too many cooks in the kitchen, over planning in corporations, from my understanding from other clients. But I think part of the reason for that is there are so many people on the ship. You need more planning to help organize everyone to be able to take action, which is also why it is harder for a larger corporation to take action, to be adaptable. And again, I think that is just something to see. That doesn't mean then for you that leaning into that over planning is going to be beneficial. I think it's understanding why that happens in a large corporation and seeing, and that's the beauty and asset of being a smaller business, and leaning into that instead of trying to mimic what's going on in a larger corporation that wouldn't serve you as a small business owner. Let me just see these comments. Tally says that is so true. I feel like that's what happens to me and some clients. I think you're speaking to the over planning part. I think this is really, really common, this tendency to over plan, for a few reasons. I think in business, I was chatting with a client a couple weeks ago. She's like, do I need a business plan? And the reason I share that is because most people hear business plan, like that's the first thing you think of when you're going to start a business. And I think planning, we're going to talk about good planning, positive planning is beneficial. And so I think, we get this story that it's so important to plan. And I think if you're feeling insecure, if you are, wrapped around not feeling good enough, if any fear is coming up, what is the easiest, sneakiest way to hide in business? To plan. Planning is such a great way to hide. And this is why I think it's sort of like a sneaky business block, because it feels very productive while I'm planning. And it feels like a really great reason to delay taking action if you're feeling a little scared or feeling a little insecure. Well, I'm going to take action on that, but first I gotta plan. First I gotta create a plan. One of my clients, I lovingly pushed back a little bit because that was her pattern. She kept planning, and then she needed the 5-year business plan. Meanwhile, no action to move forward on any of the plans was happening in business. And I think it's just interesting to see how this really becomes a stalling tactic, and a stalling tactic to avoid doing often the uncomfortable actions needed to move your business forward or to generate income in business. So very, very normal. I think it's helpful to understand why this happens so that you can start to spot it in your business and start, particularly this time of year, again, all for planning. But I think we want to start to notice, am I planning in a way that serves my business, or am I planning as a way to delay taking action? Am I planning and planning some more and planning some more on the plan and then creating another plan so that I can keep planning and feel really good because I'm doing something, but not actually doing anything that moves my business forward? And just really checking in with that. I think always this is important, but this time of year, what do we want to do? We want to plan 2021 and business goals. Courtney says, yes, I'm embracing more of the proverbial shit or get off the pot. Yes. And I think there's really the phrase always cracks me up. I think there's really something to that though. Something I see with my clients is what speeds up, sometimes people want to what's the quick way to get success in business? There is no race and there is no quick fix. And I'm always talking about that. However, when you're willing to have a looser plan and run at things without a fully formed, 12-step plan, those tend to be the people who grow faster, not because they're better or because they're more fearless or any of that, but quite literally because they're taking action faster. And what we were talking about at the beginning is, it's not that the plan is not helpful, it's that when you overplan, you delay taking action. When you run at something, when you lean into the proverbial shit or get off the pot, when you lean into that fast aligned action, you're just gonna get that data so much faster in your business, which is just going to allow you to continue to get clarity and refine your strategy so that you can rinse and repeat it to get those results you want. And so I think it's seeing it's not that fast action is the thing. It's understanding why fast action is the thing. It's because you don't get looped around overthinking and all the things that delay taking action, but you also get that feedback so much faster that's so invaluable in business. Something I think is so helpful to remember is, in business, everything is a test. None of us know. I'm getting some clients come to me and they think I know if their idea is going to be successful ahead of time. And I think there's just I can give all of my insights based on, seeing the behind the scenes of so many businesses and knowing what creates success and understanding strategy and seeing the mindset behind it. And at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to make a business blow up. We don't know what's going to be the lever to press that's, going to have someone setting click into hitting that tipping point. We don't know what offer is going to land better than something else. We learn all of that by putting things out, testing them, getting that data and rinsing, repeating, refining, and working until it works. But part of it is through taking that action. And I think that's where seeing having and hanging out too much in what would be the opposite here of shitting or getting off. I hate saying that word, but it's so here of basically sitting on the pot. It's allowing yourself to run at and take that action to get that data back in your business. So let's talk about then, what is positive planning? Because on the flip side, and I think this is where it gets confusing, I talk about goal setting, talk about creating a vision. I literally carve out time in my day every morning where I do plan my day and I plan my weeks and I plan my months. So I think there can be a little confusion where it's well, what planning is good? What's over planning? So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that can be helpful here. So the way I think about positive planning, and I just need a quick sip of Courtney, I've got my kombucha today, by the way, because we were talking about kombucha last week. So I think, seeing here, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. We talked about the planning fallacy we talked about that already. Okay, so in terms of positive planning, the way I think about positive planning in business is really thinking about it in terms of creating a vision and getting clear on the strategy that you're taking action on. And then around that, having a loose plan on how you're going to execute that strategy daily, weekly, monthly. And allowing the vision to be sort of that destination you're driving towards, your strategy to be the vehicle that's going to get you there. And then outside of that, not over planning the details. There's a great book I'm reading called Stretch. They've been referencing this a lot. He gives some great examples in this around planning and just how we think that, having that vision, having the strategy, this is my version of positive planning, but he talks so much about how easy it is for people to get wrapped around getting clear on all the details, and how when we wrap around all of those details and trying to over plan, what it actually does is it limits your thinking And it limits your ability to problem solve, to come up with new ideas, to see new possibilities and opportunities, which are the very things as an entrepreneur you need to create that business success. And I think that's, again, when that's kind of that business planning fallacy. That's when the planning becomes a business block instead of an asset that helps move you forward. And so what I would offer to you is, especially as you're looking into the new year, really starting to think more in terms of, what is that bigger vision for my business? What do I really want to create? How do I want to feel? Like, what are those bigger picture goals? What is the strategy I'm taking? And then getting clear on, like, what are some of those action steps I'm going to take? We've talked about this, I think, on one of the other lives, those non-negotiable action steps you're going to take to move your business forward daily, weekly, and monthly. But then really allowing yourself not to get too nitty gritty and overthink the details in your plan, and to remind yourself that that is what is going to allow you to take that quick aligned action, to really be open to, again, receiving that data and that feedback, but also allow you to problem solve and see new opportunities and new insights and new ideas. He uses this example in Stretch, and I will co-sign the example he uses in this book for my own experience acting. He uses the example of improv, and how, for any of you who, I don't know how much everyone here knows about improv, but I'm an ex-actress who spent 10 years acting, and improv is very much, it's this, you don't have a preconceived plan. You kind of have that loose vision of where the story is going to go, and then you have a strategy in terms of, what you're going to do in the scene, and then you just have to show up, really listen, and be adaptable and take action and move forward to kind of reach that end vision by just being really present and taking action throughout the scene, versus where you have something like a script, more like traditional when we think of acting script, you have a very laid out plan with a script and with lines you're going to use, that you're going to say. And that's what I would think of as more of a rigid plan. And I think if we take a look at the difference between scripted acting and improv, and we apply this to business, we can see there's nothing wrong with a scripted plan, but what happens with a scripted plan is you do start to lose some of the magic. If you go into, I know this from myself, I went into a scene overly scripted, over-rehearsing, overly having a plan of how I'm gonna say all those words and what I'm gonna do, I would stop listening in a scene, I would stop being able to respond in the moment, and I would miss so many of the magical opportunities that create brilliant acting. Versus when you allow yourself to improv more, or even when you allow yourself to throw away the script and the plan of how things are supposed to be, that's where so much of the magic happens in acting. And the same is true in business. You need that bigger vision. You do need a strategy, but the more you can let go of needing things to look and be a specific way, the more you open your mind to seeing new possibilities, to seeing different opportunities, to seeing, to getting those creative downloads, to being innovative, to stepping into the very action steps that, again, yes, give you that data and feedback, but that also really allow you to show up as a thought leader, as someone who's innovative, as someone who's doing something new and different in your space that leads to that business success. And I think, kind of going back to what we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation, it's also what allows you to be so much more adaptable and really respond as things are happening in real time, instead of, wait, I need to now go through, how does this fit into my overly detailed plan? I want to see what these comments here. Recovering overthinker here, it makes such a difference to dive in and take imperfect action. Amen, Courtney. I mean, I'm a recovering overthinker and a recovering perfectionist, and I would assume many people in this group are. So all the grace and no shame if that's where you're sitting. And I think it's just so nice to highlight and see, why do we overthink? Why do we get into perfectionism as humans, as business owners? It is a response to fear. It is a mechanism we create because we're not feeling safe, we're not feeling secure in some way. And on some level, we think, if I can just perfect this, if I can just overthink this, if I can just come up with the perfect 5-year plan, it's impossible for me to fail. I will be safe. It is impossible for me not to have success. Nothing bad will happen to me. So I think it's really helpful, again, just to see, where is this coming from, and seeing the mindset around it. So, so we see what mindset to shift, and then see, oh, this is such false logic, because the very things that are actually going to allow me to have success, that's, going to allow for that business success, or allow me to lean into my business and create what I want, is to throw away some of the overthinking, to throw away the perfectionism, so that I can lean into taking that imperfect action, because all results, every single business result, all of your clarity is on the other side of that action. And the second your action is perfect and perfectly planned out is the second we know you've taken way too long, or we know you're just not taking action at all. So I really appreciate that reflection, Courtney. I always appreciate your reflections. What did I want to add here? I wanted to add something. So I wanted to share a little bit just in terms of how to apply this balance of, yes, planning is really important, and how do you plan that? Because I think there's also, Brendan Richard talks a lot about how people who are successful and put out prolific output, and I think there's stats on how really successful people spend more time planning. And so I think it can be very confusing. And what I want to say is both are true. We just want to get clear on what type of planning we're talking about. And what I want to offer here with your business and for everyone here, especially again, as we're looking to the next year, is there's nothing wrong with planning. And I want to talk about just a little bit more just in terms of how I'll share how I apply this in my business. There's nothing wrong with planning, and planning is really powerful. And I think it's almost like, can we think about this as on a macro and micro level? And I think macro, can you let go of some of the planning and needing to have that perfectly detailed plan and needing to know everything that's going to happen in your business in the next 5 years? Because I think that's where we get wrapped around the axle of overthinking and perfectionism. And I think that's what stalls people out, and where we can just spend so much time planning. And really, again, lean into, can we have that bigger vision instead? Micro, once you have that bigger vision and once you're clear on your strategy, what I find really powerful then is carving out time to plan really those, again, this is what we were talking about earlier, those action steps. And so what that looks like for me specifically is I carve out some time every morning. Sometimes it's part of my evening ritual, but just what does my day look like? Planning out my time blocks, planning those action steps I'm taking, planning how I'm executing on strategy. I schedule in time with my team where we're planning and looking at, what does this month look like? What are some of the things that are on the horizon as they tie into the vision? And so there's still time for planning, but it's really planning those action steps that we're then running at, instead of all of this time just planning, thinking, without having that attached to action. I think that's the really big difference I want to invite you to play with as you're looking into 2021 in your business. If any of my team is watching this or watching, sometimes they pull this for repurposing. They would laugh if they were listening to any of this, because I know my OBM in particular, sometimes she'll plan things for us and she'll say, is this too far out in advance for you? Because of what we're talking about here, we absolutely spend time planning. I'm not hating on planning. And even within that, even within my team, I'm pretty big on, I don't like to plan too far out in what we're doing as a team for all the reasons we're talking about here, because then suddenly we're having conversations and meetings to plan about the plan, and to talk about the thing that's happening months from now, and we aren't as adaptable. We can't just really respond to what's happening in real time. And so if anyone on my team is planning something too far out in advance, I'll actually ask them to stop. Now, this doesn't mean we're not batching things ahead of time. Again, this doesn't mean we don't have a plan. This doesn't mean we don't have a vision. We know what's on our radar in 2021. We know some things we're creating. But in terms of those action steps, we only plan so far out in advance so that we can really run at things and take action, and so that I can really be in what's happening in the business and respond to it. And I think that's one of the reasons when so much of what happened this year came up. It's not like I had a guidebook for this is how you support clients during a global pandemic so that they can be adaptable and continue to sustain their business, not freak out, and have success. None of us had a playbook for that. But I think one of the reasons it was easier for me as a business owner and to support and hold so many clients through that was exactly what we're talking about. We didn't have 6 months, 8 months of things that were so locked in, we couldn't move them around. We absolutely had a few weeks of content and some things planned out, but it was so much easier for us to hop in and to shift things around. And even for me to be able to shift and pivot the way I was thinking about things to support clients. And so I think it's just such a beautiful, we talked about this on a live stream a few weeks ago, some of the benefits and gifts of 2020. I think 2020, however it's been for all of you, I think it really has given us some beautiful takeaways. And I think that is one of them, is seeing that, yes, having a plan is important. Yes, we want to spend some time planning, but really, can you spend that time planning? Like, what are you going to do in real time as it relates to your vision, and allowing your plan to be loose enough, malleable enough, adaptable enough that you can not only run out and take action, but adjust as things are happening, as you're getting that data and feedback. And I think it's something that 2020 has just asked all of us as business owners and entrepreneurs to really step into, and to really let go of some of those plans, I think, or just even that want to overthink and hold on to things so tightly. I'm sure all of my entrepreneurs in the group who are also parents will speak to that. I mean, I know from just supporting so many clients who are going through this, just everything that's been going on with homeschooling and having kids at home, and just what this year has brought. I think it's just been really fascinating to see even there. I think school is something we just have, we can plan our kids' lives through college, right? And all the ways it's going to look. And I think this year has just been a really fascinating, challenging, all my praise hands to all the parents out here, because I know it's been very challenging, but I think it's just been really fascinating to also see how that's such an example of something we think is this rigid plan, and how it can limit our thinking sometimes, and how when that plan just gets destroyed, how it forces us to all start thinking differently and to approach something we've been doing for so long in different ways, not discounting the challenge that has been for everyone. And so what I really, 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 really want to encourage everyone in this group, as you're closing out this year and you're going to reflections and you're starting to plan the year ahead, yes, have some time daydreaming, spend time. I love to, I'll share one of my favorite rituals as we get closer to the new year with the group. Absolutely plan, but I really want to encourage everyone here to also really play with, what would it look like if I didn't have such a rigid plan in my business? What would it look like if I let go of some of the ways a plan can confine me, and this need where it's like, I need to have the perfect plan or business plan. To kind of bring this full circle, that client who asked me if she needed a business plan, I told her no, because she already has a successful business. And I think it's just funny how we think we need a plan even when we're already executing on something, as a side note. And so really want to invite you, yes, vision board, do all the visioning, but to allow yourself, can you have a little bit of a looser grip on your plan, and to think about what's possible if you do. What kind of problem solving does that open you up to? What kind of opportunities does that open you up to? What kind of new ideas that aren't a part of your plan would that open you up to? I know, for example, for me, I think I've done a couple really innovative things this year in my business that I don't know that I could have planned for last year. Many of you have signed up for a Sellout Without Feeling Like a Sellout, which is finishing this week. That's a free course, a 6-week free course that I'm offering. That is not the result of, that is not something I planned out last year as what I was going to do. That was quite honestly a brainchild that was possible because there wasn't such a rigid plan in my business that has been incredibly, I think it's innovative in that I don't see anyone else giving away free courses like that. I know, because I've heard the feedback from many of you, it's been really helpful for many of you, and something I need to make sure I share with all of you. It's also been really powerful in my business. I think within the first 14 days, it allowed me, I think we made over 25K in sales from that free course, and just seeing how 25K in sales from a free course, and allowing that business strategy and innovation to come to play, because I wasn't so locked into a plan of how this year was supposed to look like, and had a vision, but within that enough flexibility to allow for new ideas to come in, innovation, new thoughts, new ways, creative ideas. And so I think as you are all planning for 2021, I think just something really fun to play with is, how can I allow this to be, think of my planning more as that guidepost, that vision, and get clear on my strategy. I think we want that vision, we want that strategy, and we want that aligned action, but how can I allow it, again, to be loose enough so that I can really allow for those new ideas, that problem solving, starting to see those new opportunities that I just would be blind to if I was so locked into things having to look and fit into a certain plan. And then with that, I would invite everyone too, because I do think there is a place for planning. What's this saying? I always get this wrong. My significant other and I always say this: proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. It's all the piss, all the P's. Wait, proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. So I think there's also a place for all the P's for planning. And again, remembering that's when we look at like, what are those actions you're running at, and planning those more from this place of, I'll use that course as an example. Once I decided that's the course that's happened, like this is what's happening, then of course I needed a plan in terms of a structure for, when is that getting recorded? How are we executing on this? What's my team supporting me with? How are we running at this? And even within that, allowing that to be malleable enough so that we could run at it and collect some of the data information as we were doing that, so that, we weren't stuck in, we didn't spend, for example, 6 months planning that. I had the idea, we put down a plan, and we started running at it within a week or two. So I think just allowing yourself that balance as you go into 2021 is how I have just seen in my own business, but also just how I see client after client after client, when they really allow for that balance, how I see them able to thrive in business and really have that success that feels good, but also that success that allows for those new, different, adaptable ideas. All right, I want to see what Courtney says. Letting go and taking the pressure off makes all the difference. I mean, mic drop, Courtney. That's just like, I feel like that's just like, if I could just summarize like business success in one sentence, letting go and taking the pressure off makes all the difference is so well put. And it's so ironic, because I don't think any of us, I mean, Courtney, you'll have to tell me if this is true, and anyone else who's on live and on the replay as well, I don't think anyone gets into business thinking, so the way to business success, making more money doing what you love, creating your version of success, building, growing, scaling a profitable business that you love, is by letting go and taking the pressure off. I think the narrative in society is apply more pressure, and I've talked about this before, but like, apply as much pressure as possible, grip on really tightly, and that is how you create success. And I think it's so fascinating, the longer I'm in business, the more and more I see that the complete inverse is true. The more you can let go. And it's, I know I've used this example before, but it's like, can you hold your vision instead of grip your vision? But the more you can let go and hold your vision instead of grip it, and the more you can release that pressure backpack, I mean, the lighter you are, and the more you can run and take that action that we were talking about, that is the catalyst for all of the results in your business. So Courtney, you get the mic drop award for today's live stream. Just to put a bow on this and y'all let me know if you have any questions, reflections, and I want to make sure I didn't miss anything that I was going to share with you. No, we talked about because I want to make sure what I promised I was going to share with you, I did, which is just, if we're going to stop over planning, to allow instead for that space to take action, but also for the vision. I think of it as vision plus strategy plus aligned action. That's what equals then what you want to plan those action steps around, that equals the success in your business, now, always, and in 2021. And what I wanted to put a bow to tie this up neatly is just that reminder, and I think this is really, really applicable just to the holidays as well, coming from a family that over plans the holidays and has a very rigid plan around the holidays, and seeing how this year that has gone out the window completely, and none of the plans we have had for the last, for as long as I've been around and before I was around, none of those plans can go to plan because of COVID and because of quarantining and wanting, all the different changes we have. I think it's just been really interesting to see how, when you can let go of over planning and let go of those rigid plans, the magic and just the new, we're creating new traditions, we're creating new ways of doing things. And just remembering in your business with the holidays, particularly this year, and as you're looking to next year, how can you let go a little bit of that want to overplan and just hold it a little bit lightly? Promise, promise, promise. That allows for so much more success to come come in through the door. I'll give one more of my favorite examples around the whole letting go and pressure piece is, and I know I've shared this before, I'm gonna share it again. Y'all know those Chinese finger traps, where you put your finger in, like when you struggle with it, it gets really tight, and the only way to get out of the finger trap is what? Like you have to sit there and let go and just kind of surrender. And then the finger trap releases and you can pull your fingers out. And I think that's so much of what we're talking about here. What Courtney was talking about, just in terms of letting go and taking the pressure off. When we struggle, when we fight, when we're like, if I just like apply, like just fight with this thing, then of course I'm gonna get my fingers out. Of course, like that's the plan, that's what's gonna work. And the irony is, the more you can kind of just sit there and let go, it's so easy to just slide those fingers right out. And I think that really applies to what Courtney so brilliantly said. Courtney says, a good coach taught me that one. Well, I don't know who that good coach is, but I really like that. I really like that I like that philosophy, Courtney. Cracking up at that. I love you. I think that is everything that I wanted to share with you all and give as an invitation as you close out 2020 and get into 2021 and your business plans for 2021 and thereafter. Absolutely give yourself the gift of plan, but also release some of the pressure around it and see where you can allow for some improv in your business. And just that reminder that it might feel, I think there's sometimes like when we don't have that rigid plan, it can feel a little, because plans are what we grasp onto, like that is that safety blanket. And so just that reminder, it might feel a little like, ooh, this is like a little scary. It feels a little like, I'm just like leaping in. And I think just that reminder that of course it feels that way because we grasp onto the over planning as a security blanket, but knowing that really like thinking of it as more of that improv mindset where you'll still have you'll have an outlined script and an outlined vision and strategy, but the more you can allow yourself to improv within that, I think the more you'll allow for that innovation and that magic in your business to unfold. And more fun in your business to unfold, a whole lot less pressure in your business. But I hope that's helpful for you all. If you're watching the replay, let me know if you have questions, reflections, and 2 quick announcements before I hop off here. 1, Sell Out Without Feeling Like a Sellout. That is the free 6-week sales course that I was mentioning. We just had the 6th week of lessons drop on Monday. You can still sign up through, if you click the banner at the top of the group, I'll make sure we drop a link. You can still sign up and get access to all 6 weeks if you're like, what the heck are you talking about? There's a free sales course. I am really proud of this course. I think it is as valuable. I mean, I poured everything into it. This is everything I wish I'd known at the start of my business. I've been getting great feedback on it. It is completely free. There's no like, I fool you on like week 3 where I'm asking you to pay. It's completely free. So you can still sign up and get the access to all 6 weeks and kind of catch up on those. And if you sign up before Thursday, we have a live Q&A Friday morning that will not be in this group. It's on Zoom. So you do have to sign up to get that Zoom link. So if you want to join us for that, just make sure you sign up so you can get access to that. We will be, my team is going to help me. We will be turning this into something evergreen that I can share with all of you, but that's going to take us a moment. So after this is just a great time to sign up if you want to be able to join us for the Q&A basically. So you can still get access to that. And then the other thing I just want to remind any of you, if you are interested in coaching one-on-one support for 2021 and wanted support in your planning without all the pressure to build, grow, and scale that profitable business you love, that's what I do. I'm very, very good at it. I focus on the clarity, mindset, strategy, and action we've been talking about. I am booking for 2021. I think January is fully booked and we're looking at, I think I have 1 spot for February and then some spots opening up in March. So now is the time to book a call with me. There's no pressure, but they are booking pretty quickly. So book a call with me. I'm also raising my rates in January to reflect my experience and what I bring to the table and my availability. If you book with me for a spot in 2021 now, you will get locked in at my current rates. So if that's something you've been thinking about, if you're like, I've been so curious what it'd be like to work with Kim, book a call. They're very low pressure. I will lovingly tell you if it's not a fit, but hop on those before I raise my rates because the spots are filling up and my rates will be going up. So book a call. I'd love to chat with you. And then all of you, I love you. Thank you for being here. Hey, Manisha, nice to see you. I will be back next week. Next week, I have a guest joining me and we have a fun topic as we're getting to the holidays. So next week's live will be fun, and I can't wait to see you all next week. Lots of love.